DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. We're going to have a great show today. Our guest, Dr. Brent Meyer, and we're going to talk about vaccines, we're going to talk about immunization, and many different things with your cow herd. Dr. Meyer is an international expert and veterinarian in beef cattle production medicine and immunization and all things cattle. We're so lucky to have him on the show. Stay tuned.
As dependable as the sunrise, in dairy parlors, open pastures, on ranches and feed yards across America, a place where reputation is more than a name, where the science of healthier animals is a way of life. It's the responsibility that drives who we are and what we do. Every decision, every day. It's your livelihood and our responsibility.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Profusion Drench for beef cattle, a no prescription, no needle supplement. To learn more, go to zenpro.com.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson, and we have a special guest, somebody I've known since vet school.
Yep, since vet school. Playing a lot of basketball back in the day too.
That's right. That's right. We our two classes had quite the basketball games.
We did.
No fouls called, I don't think.
You got to be tough.
That's
right.
right.
You got to be tough.
But you know, Dr. Meyer is a veterinarian. He has a graduate degree in production medicine, and has been one of those people not only in practice but throughout your career just been so engaged with feedlot health, with all things cattle health, and now you're a veterinarian at Merck.
Yes.
And you're getting to see cattle all over the country and get to deal with things. But today we're going to talk about vaccines.
Yeah, we are. So one thing we talk about is, we got to find out what disease is. How does an animal, cow, calf, get disease? And there's three functions to that disease process. One's the host. Is the host healthy? Is not immune suppressed? The other one is environment. What kind of environment is it in? Is it weather stress, dry, wet, that sort of thing? And the other one is the agent. Is it viruses or bacteria? Is that the agent that's causing it? And if any one of those three are out of balance or out of whack, then we start getting disease popping in. And that's where the immune system really needs to lay hold on those calves. And when you talk about the immune system, we break it down into three types. There's the innate immune system, there's the passive immune system, and the acquired immune system. And just briefly, just to give the folks an idea what that is, the innate immune system is what you're born with, the macrophages, the white blood cells, the mucus, the cilia that sweep things out. That's always there, you're born with that. That's the innate system. When that gets damaged, things start falling down pretty quick. The passive immunity is what the calf gets from the cow's colostrum. It's that first immunity they get, that first, let's say up to 4 to 6 months of age. That's why it's good to get those cows vaccinated correctly pre-calving to get that colostrum built up.
So when we vaccinate the cows or they're exposed to a disease, then when they make that first milk, that colostrum, those antibodies that they have floating in their system wind up in that the calf drinks in that first nursing, right?
Absolutely, and especially with ruminants and cattle, that is the baseline for their immune system that sets them up for failure or success. Because we can't vaccinate those calves very efficiently against a lot of pathogens they get exposed to early, so it has to come through the colostrum, and that's where that's very important. Because you look at the research, if they don't get colostrum or failure of passive transfer, if they don't get that, they're 2 to 6 times more likely to get sick before weaning, up to 5 times likely to die before weaning. So it's very important to cover that passive transfer deal.
And I think there's two things to that are important. One is if they don't get up and suck, you need to give them colostrum or get a supplement. But the other one is if you go out there and you start messing with them to get a tag in there. The mom knows which calf it is. She doesn't need a tag.
Yeah.
And you go out there and start messing with them right when they hit the ground. Let them suck
Yeah.
and get that colostrum.
Absolutely. If they're not stressed and it's a natural birth, it's gonna they'll figure it out and get it done. So when you have a cantankerous cow or a nervous heifer or that sort of thing, you can be able to tell. It's important to get that colostrum into those calves within that first 6 hours, ideally, and by 12 at the latest, because that groove that carries that colostrum into the stomach starts to shut down after 12 hours, and you get less absorption. So you're right. Let them be together, pair them up, and they'll get nursed and get on there and get a good head start on it. The other one is acquired immunity, and we'll talk about that as we go through the session, I think, and that's vaccinating those animals. What can we do as practitioners or producers? What can we do to those animals to give them something to increase their immunity? And that's the next step that we want to cover is that acquired vaccination status.
So they're either vaccinated or they're exposed, and then they stimulate their own response rather than blocking it with the innate or getting it from a passive from the mom. Now it's them out on their own making a living.
Absolutely. Yep, that's what we want to focus on is that next step. And like there's vaccines for viruses and bacteria. Those are the main ones we want to talk about here to get those calves to a good start. Once that passive transfer starts to wane, which it does over time, then we got to get that vaccine rolling to meet that crossroad so they're not left with an open window of susceptibility at that time.
Perfect. Sets us up great for a great discussion on vaccination, immunization. We have just so blessed to have Dr. Meyer here on the show. We're going to take a break and we'll come right back after these messages.
If you're looking for advanced and innovative livestock handling products and facilities, Daniels Manufacturing Company is who you want to choose. They are a family-owned business that puts the needs of their customers first and have so since they opened in 1958. With low-stress cattle handling being of the utmost importance, they are focused on quality, not quantity. The company prides themselves on prioritizing the animal's well-being by staying on the cutting edge of design and only using the best materials and manufacturing operations. For more information or to purchase your own, contact Daniels Manufacturing Company today.
The state of Iowa and Iowa State University are proud to host the 2021 Beef Improvement Federation Annual Research Symposium and Convention. The convention will be located in downtown Des Moines with easy access to the airport, hotels, and local restaurants. Iowa State University is just north with its research and teaching farms. Join us in Iowa and experience how Iowa provides the beef industry with innovation to application.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson with Dr. Brent Meyer. We're here in Ames, Iowa at the Iowa Cattlemen's Association headquarters. And we've vaccinated a lot of cattle. And there's a difference between vaccinating and immunizing. But when we start to talk about acquired immunity, can you just go through the process and what we're talking about?
Absolutely. So the immune system is very complex.
Yep.
And to try to get all the details, we can't do that in this time frame. So I like to use a thing called baseball immunology. Okay, I got a little baseball here. So let's pretend a natural setting, a natural calf, out in the, whether it's in a feed yard or out on pasture, we'll call this the virus or the bacteria.
Okay.
That's what that is. And we're going to call this here is going to be what they call a dendritic cell or an antigen presenting cell. And that's typically located in the nasal mucosa, it's in the digestive tract, it's under the skin if you inject things too. But anyway, let's say the pathogen, the calf breathes it in. Every day it's doing that. If that calf is, we're talking about the host, if it's suppressed, immune system suppressed, dehydrated, or has other issues going on nutritionally, then that antigen presenting cell is not going to work. Okay, so this should fit in here to attach it. When those things are going on in that host where things aren't going well with the stress, this bacteria and virus just goes right on past that, down the lungs, and then we got disease. And so that's why it's important for host immunity to be up to snuff. If things are going well and that presenting cell is active, here comes a virus or bacteria, and it fits and it grabs it out of the air, and it pulls that into the body, and it goes down and drains into the lymph nodes. Okay? So once that virus or bacteria is in the lymph nodes, it can go one of two different ways in the immune system. Okay, first it's going to break it up, which it does. Okay, so you got two pieces of that virus or bacteria. This piece here might go to what they call a B cell, and B cells make antibodies. And so antibodies are good for circulation to you know, you know, with that covering the antigen to help remove it. It's very important for extracellular pathogens, like a lot of bacteria, like your Mannheimia Pasteurella type product, Salmonella E. coli. It's all extracellular. So antibodies are very important for that, and that's what that B cell is going to do with those fragments, is get a good antibody formation. This other fraction here might be, let's say it's a virus fraction, and it's going to go over to a T cell. So there's B cells and there's T cells.
Yep.
So the T cell is responsible for what we call a cell-mediated immunity. So what that means is we need an immune reaction so we can get into the cell, because viruses like to go into the cell and cause the damage and hide from the immune system. So that T cell function processes that, and then we get cytotoxic T cells, helper T cells. Over here we get that immunity response that can get into that cell to affect those viruses. The other thing you do with the cell-mediated or T cell function is immune memory. And so we can talk about that a little bit later here, is the primary response and the secondary response. And so that's where it's going over here in the T cell. So altogether, that is going to cause our immune system to fire if things are going well with the host, the environment. If they get exposed to a large pathogen load or anything like that, that's where that's all happening in that lymph node.
So it grabs it, brings it in lymph node, chucks it into two things. One of them is going to create immune response or antibodies, and the other is going to help fight that off within the cell.
Absolutely. Yep. Because viruses, pretty much all viruses like to go into the cell.
Yep.
And antibodies that are circulating can't get into the cell very well.
Yeah.
It's definitely helpful if it's circulating in the system, to help. But that CMI response is very important. So when we make vaccines or choose a vaccine, you got to keep that in mind of what can we do, what are we fighting.
We're going to come back, and you better pay attention, because when we come back, we're going to talk about how the different vaccines and different things regulate the different processes that Dr. Meyer just showed us. So it's going to be a great show. We're so glad to have him here on the show. We'll be right back at the Iowa Cattlemen's headquarters here in Ames, Iowa. You're watching DocTalk. We'll be back after these messages.
4 generations before me did their job providing this opportunity to me and my siblings. If I do things right, I'm going to lay that opportunity out for my kids.
My entire family is a vital element of a job you have to get done.
It's just fun to be around the family and doing this.
And you'll do the right thing for the business. You will do the right thing for the cows because it's for a family.
Producers know stress costs money. It puts their cattle at greater risk of illness and can be a substantial drain on animal performance. That's why ZenPro developed ProFusion Drench for beef cattle. Formulated with ZenPro's patented trace mineral technology, ProFusion Drench is a no-script, no-needle performance supplement, proven to rapidly replenish essential nutrients lost during times of stress. For optimal results, use ProFusion Drench with ZenPro Performance Minerals in feed as part of a complete nutrition program. To learn more, go to zenpro.com. ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need. From prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Brent Meyer. He's a veterinarian from Merck Animal Health. He has been in the industry, and like I say, we went to vet school at the same time, and Dr. Meyer has been in veterinary practice and just been one of those people that I can call up, bounce things off of. So just thankful to have you on the show. It's great to have you. And we're talking about immunity. And so how long does it take, after I vaccinate an animal? Because, we think like, well, I vaccinated them yesterday.
Yep.
And they got sick.
Yep, there you go. Yep. Through sweat, maybe.
Yeah.
The old sweat
That's what
debate.
I do. I got my COVID vaccine.
Yeah, exactly.
I know what the vaccine sweats are.
Yeah. No, that's a good question. So one thing that, when companies bring vaccines to market, all the studies, the efficacy studies, and we got to prove that they work, are all done in colostrum-deprived calves. We need to make sure everything, we get rid of confounding variables and that sort of thing. And
that means then they wouldn't have any passive immunity,
correct.
So they don't have any antibodies to that disease.
Yep.
So anything that's stimulated had to come from what you give them.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So we're looking for that. And so, all that data, keep that in mind. So when we take that information and go into a calf that's colostrum fed or, a feedlot steer, that might change a few things. But in general, this is what we should expect on cattle. So one thing is onset of immunity, like you said. So you can break that down looking at intranasal vaccines. We're talking about technologies. That's been around since the 1970s, but it's gaining more steam on looking intranasal route, and then also the parenteral or sub-Q or IM route. So intranasally applied vaccines typically are quicker in response, just based on the immune system, the mucosal immune system, a lot of lymph nodes in that back of the pharynx area. And so we typically get some interferon response about 3, 4, 5 days. And then our immunity starts building up around that same time, about that 5, 6, 7 days. We start getting some antibody that we can measure, whether it's IgA, which is one type of antibody in the nose. The other one we measure is IgG, which is circulating in the body. Okay, so those are two antibodies that we measure. And so we can see that happening pretty early on with that intranasal product. The intermuscular sub-Q products tend to maybe lag behind a little bit. So some feel that 7 to 10 days maybe on those products with that first dose. Although there are some vaccines that we can get immunity within 3 to 5 days with the sub-Q product. So technology has improved on that end to get that speed. And so we got the speed down. Now we get the questions we get is how long.
Yeah. I mean, if I vaccinate an animal, how long is it?
Yep.
Covered.
Yep. So that's called duration of immunity studies.
Yep.
So how long does that protection last? So we'll vaccinate a group of cattle, and then we'll wait, let's say, 4 months, and then we'll come in and we'll challenge that animal with the virus or the bacteria, and then we'll measure the parameters and see how well it did. And so that's a lot of companies have that documented, and so that gives you an idea of how long it lasts. And so if you look at in general, there's a lot of vaccines with one dose, depends on if modified live or killed, one dose you can get close to a year on some pathogens like IBR and BVD.
Yep.
So you can get quite a bit ways out there. Sometimes you need a booster those cattle to if it's a shorter duration of immunity. But
so you hit on booster. What exactly do you mean when you say booster?
Yeah, booster is typically with killed vaccines, because we don't have that, I guess, more of a robust CMI response. So a booster is exposing the animal with the first dose. That's that diagram I showed you.
Yep.
You get a first response. We got memory that developed, and then 2 to 3 weeks later, let's say we inject that animal again with that same vaccine, or they get exposed naturally. That memory knows what that antigen looks like.
Yep.
And so then it jumps on that antigen, and since it already knows what that is, you shorten that window of onset of immunity, and it just skyrockets up level and speed with memory. And I've heard people getting the COVID vaccine. The first one wasn't too bad. The second one, man, that kind of knocked them a little bit. You know, because they went through that second response. It's safe, it's fine, it's natural, but that's that animistic or secondary response that you get.
They're getting revaxed. Yeah,
they're getting revaxed, is right. So that's what that is.
That's a great explanation. Folks, we're out of time in this segment. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up on vaccinations with Dr. Brent Meyer. You're watching DocTalk, and we're sure glad you joined us.
If you're looking for advanced and innovative livestock handling products and facilities, Daniels Manufacturing Company is who you want to choose. They are a family-owned business that puts the needs of their customers first, and have so since they opened in 1958. With low-stress cattle handling being of the utmost importance, they are focused on quality, not quantity. The company prides themselves on prioritizing the animal's well-being by staying on the cutting edge of design and only using the best materials and manufacturing operations. For more information or to purchase your own, contact Daniels Manufacturing Company today. Producers know stress costs money. It puts their cattle at greater risk of illness and can be a substantial drain on animal performance. That's why Zenpro developed ProFusion Drench for beef cattle. Formulated with Zenpro's patented trace mineral technology, ProFusion Drench is a no-script, no-needle performance supplement proven to rapidly replenish essential nutrients lost during times of stress. For optimal results, use ProFusion Drench with Zenpro Performance Minerals in feed as part of a complete nutrition program. To learn more, go to zenpro.com. ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need. From prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thompson here with Dr. Brent Meyer. We're talking about vaccinations. We're here in Ames, Iowa at the Iowa Cattlemen's Association headquarters. Dr. Meyer is a veterinarian, works at Merck Animal Health, a wealth of knowledge on vaccines and cattle medicine. Thankful for you being on the show, driving down.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about this can almost get religious in veterinary and producer circles, but let's talk about killed and modified live vaccines. And some of the differences.
Yeah, let's go into that water, should we?
Yeah.
So we'll start out that they're all good vaccines.
Right.
Okay. So leave it up to your veterinarian to pick what they feel is best, safest for your environment, your cattle. But I'm just going to maybe cover some advantages, disadvantages, or just differences between the two. So killed vaccines, exactly what it sounds like. They killed the virus or bacteria, usually through a chemical alteration. And there's a lot of preservatives in that product, that helps that. So it's a killed product. And so with that comes a lot of safety. Okay, so it's more safe or really safe to use on pregnant cows. That's one thing. You're not going to have a chance of that virus reverting to something infectious. So if you give it to it, there's not a chance it's going to turn into an infectious disease and cause sickness. So the killed products, you don't have to worry about that at all. The thing is, there's usually a larger dose, especially on the virals. You have to give more volume because you need more antigenic mass into that animal because it's a killed product. It's not live like we're talking about here in a little bit of modified lives. And so it's a higher dose. There's adjuvants usually involved with that. With that, there might be a little more vaccine stress on those animals. That's one thing. The immunity has gotten a lot better. With the adjuvants, they've done a lot of improvements on that, but typically compared to a modified live, the immunity is not as, I would say, quick. Like we talked about that response we have. We're not as quick, and we have to booster that product to get the ultimate protection. You just can't give one dose of killed and walk away. You have to booster that per label, usually about 2 to 3 weeks later, to get that secondary response. If you go past that window, that response is not going to be as robust.
And you only get half the baseball, right?
Yeah.
You only get the side that goes to the antibody.
Typically, that's where that focuses is a lot of antibody production. Now, the adjuvants might help with some CMI, but typically that's where that's happening with that. And like your clostridials, and there's some pneumonia vaccines that have Mannheim and Pasteurella, that kind of thing will be killed, and that's where they're focusing on that. And so to that point, and so the immunity also isn't as long lasting. And so we talk about duration of immunity compared to modified live. Now, modified lives, we modified the live organism through different mechanisms. Everybody has their own proprietary ways of doing it, but we attenuate that live virus. We freeze dry it, typically in a cake, and you mix it together. That's one thing that with modified lives you have to mix. Killed you don't. So you mix it together, and then that virus in there acts like a live virus, and so it's actually tricking the immune system. So you inject the calf either sub-Q IM or in the nose with that modified live virus, and that's the immune system sees that as live and starts processing that whole system as far as getting antibody and the CMI response on that situation. So being live, there's also a risk in pregnant animals.
Right.
Okay, but a lot of companies have done research on that, and there are on labels some products you can use in pregnant cows as long as they've been previously vaccinated with said product within 12 months. There's been a lot of research, so that's been a good step. But if you don't know the vaccine history of your cows, do not put a modified live in those pregnant cows.
Yeah.
You got to go killed. And the immune response typically is quicker, stronger, and longer with a modified live without a booster. So both play in certain areas of the industry, and just work with your veterinarian on picking which one fits your situation.
Yeah, I think that's the key is veterinarians know the cattle, they know the area, they know the bugs, they know, and it's time to get their information. That's what we always say on the show, always work with your local veterinarian.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. And one more thing as far as vaccine handling, the modified lives, I guess, are more sensitive than the killeds.
The killeds are already dead.
Yeah, it's already dead, So just keep it cool. Modified lives and like UV light, that can kill that vaccine off. You don't want to mix it up and set it on your truck dash for, a couple hours. And the modified lives you have to use within a couple hours too, because otherwise it starts to lose its efficacy. So anyway, that's another difference on the two.
Perfect. Thanks for being on the show. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you want to know what we do here on DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thompson, here with Dr. Brent Meyer, and we'll see you down the road.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Profusion Drench for beef cattle, a no prescription, no needle supplement. To learn more, go to zenpro.com. DocTalk was brought to you by Merck Animal Health, the science of healthier animals.